Welcome to the second episode of the Teachers of Europe podcast. This is a podcast to support teachers across Europe in addressing common classroom challenges and featuring teachers that can inspire others to follow their footsteps. My name is Benjamin Hertz and I'm your host for this episode. I used to work as a teacher myself, a history teacher, and now I work as a pedagogical manager for the European School Education Platform. Our topic for this episode is artificial intelligence in schools, or AI in schools, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic today with two fellow teachers, Lidija Kralj from Croatia and Ricardo Carvalho from Portugal. Welcome to both of you and thanks for joining today.
Hello, Ben. Thank you for the invitation.
Hello, Ben. Hello, Lidija. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Great. Many thanks, both. Now, the topic we're going to discuss, I think, is super relevant right now. Because only a few weeks ago, we've seen a new tool being released called ChatGPT. And it's gotten a lot of attention on social media, also in the mainstream media, with thousands of examples being shared about how this tool could be potentially used to revolutionize our everyday work. And there were also a lot of teachers discussing how this tool could change the way they work, but also how their students would work. Now, of course, even before this hype about ChatGPT, we've seen AI tools already being used in schools. And a lot of thinking has gone, in fact, into how these tools can be used in an effective and ethical way in education and classroom contexts. So I'm very glad to have with us here today one teacher who has done exactly that. Lidija Kralj, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today because you were part of the group of experts who recently advised the European Commission about its new ethical guidelines for educators on the use of AI. So, Lidija, can you tell us a bit more about yourself? You used to be a classroom teacher, I think, for many years. So how did you end up advising the European Commission on such a complex but fascinating topic?
Thank you, Ben, for your kind words. I would say that the words that define me the best are curiosity and continuous learning. As you said, I was teaching mathematics and computer science for 26 years in primary and secondary schools, and then continued on the university level. Then I worked in the government implementing comprehensive curricular reform in all Croatian schools. But topic of the AI is with me, I would say, for many years because I was working with the computers from early 80s. And then I more intensively start to work on it when I wrote a report about artificial intelligence role in K-12 education as part of agile information collection of European Schoolnet and been selected as an expert for European Commission expert group on AI and data in education, as you already mentioned, and we worked really hard for more than a year to create those guidelines. I would like to build up on one of your sentences, Ben, as well, agreeing that teaching experience combined with different other experience really is pieces that defined me and really help in my actual work.
Excellent. Great. And that's why we have you here on this podcast today. This is a podcast about teachers. And even though you don't work in the classroom right now anymore, I think, as you said yourself, you still very much base your work on that experience of standing in the classroom. So many thanks, Lidija. Looking forward to hearing more about your work on those ethical guidelines a bit later. Now, our second guest today is still standing in the classroom every day, I believe. Yes. You've been doing it for, I think, many, many years. Ricardo, it's a real pleasure to have you here today with us. If I'm right, I think you are known amongst your colleagues a bit as a tinkerer, someone who is always at the forefront of innovation. And that, of course, also includes working with AI in the classroom. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and in particular how you ended up using AI tools in your work with the students?
Thank you so much, Ben. I am still a teacher in the classroom. I've been a teacher since 2006, but I'm now also a PhD student at the Multimedia in Education doctoral program at the University of Aveiro. I have my master's degree in computer science teaching that I got at the University of Minho. And since 2012, I've been teaching other teachers through the National Computer Science Association, other teachers to use technological tools as a motivator to learn skills from students. I always try to find new technologies and how we can integrate it in educational practices. Artificial intelligence came to me as I was searching for new activities to do with the students. We were teaching Scratch to teach younger students how to think like a programmer. I came about, I don't know if you know about Dale Lane Machine Learning for Kids. At the time I found this and I saw that they had excellent examples that I could use to teach programming. And I thought at the time, because this was done a while back, it would be very important to teach these young kids to know what was behind it. So this is this first contact with AI came from teaching the students how to teach the machine. As you know, it's called machine learning. And then I started a course for teachers that is online. It's for all Portuguese teachers, and it's in its 5th edition. Where I teach many tools of how they can show the students on how to use this technology. First, to teach them about the importance of AI and how can they use it as an incentive, but also the coding part, as I am a computer science teacher.
Great. Many thanks, Ricardo. And it's fantastic that you also bring that teacher training experience here into the picture, because one of the topics I'd like to talk about a bit later is about how we can really make sure that teachers are effectively supported in, making effective and ethical use of artificial intelligence. So let's pick that up later. Let's stay with you, Ricardo, for the first question that I'd like to tackle. And I just have to start with ChatGPT, because really it is, everyone seems to be talking about it at the moment on the internet. Now, for those listeners who are not yet familiar with the tool, it's a prototype artificial intelligence chatbot. It's developed by a company called OpenAI, and it really specializes on natural dialogue. So you can really engage in quite naturally sounding conversations, in writing, of course, but with this chatbot. Now, currently it's still free for use as part of a research preview. So if you haven't had a chance to try it out, I really recommend you to give it a try. Just Google search for ChatGPT and you'll get to the relevant pages. I think it's really important that regardless of what we think and what we make of AI, it's really important that we get to grips with what these tools can do and cannot do, and really understand what we're talking about here. So if you're not familiar with it, after the podcast, make sure to check it out. Now, one of the reasons I think it's been getting so much attention lately is because it's very powerful at generating different types of content. For example, I can ask it to write an essay on a specific topic. So if I, as a teacher, give my students some homework essay to write, then, this AI tool can actually write that essay for me. I can also ask it to generate code or analyze my code. Again, it does that extremely well. And this is something I recently did, and I thought it worked out surprisingly well. I asked it to prepare a lesson plan on the topic of the Black Panthers. This is a topic I used to teach. And again, it did that really well. I then followed up with asking it to come up with specific discussion questions to raise in that lesson, and then with some collaborative small group activities. And it gives you really interesting, not always perfect or very creative answers, but it gives you really interesting ideas to work with there. The question is, however, what does this mean for education? What does this mean for how we work with our students? What does this mean for the role of the teacher? So, but before we tackle those questions, I just quickly want to ask you, Ricardo, I assume you've tried it out, and what type of things have you been doing with it?
So I already tried that part of trying to generate content. Like I tried a little coding game to see how would it work. But as you said, it has its limitations. But the sense I got is like Sam Altman, the CEO at OpenAI said. He said that ChatGPT is incredibly limited, but good enough at sometimes to create a misleading impression of greatness. And that's what it gave to me, because I felt like I had some power. But I have also tried with students, and I have a story that is recent, and it's making me think a lot about it. The other day, my 10th grade students were doing research for an essay. They were meant to write about Cossacks in Russia. I don't know why I didn't ask them. They didn't have their computer with them, and they asked me on the classroom if they could do that. And what did I see them do? I saw them go to Wikipedia and copy-paste whatever was there. And I said to them, do you know you can have a tool that can aid you to do this, and I showed them. They were really amazed. But then when I gave it to them, the tool, what did I realize? They didn't know what questions to ask. For a little while they tried, but then they went back to the Wikipedia. This is funny to me because this, I think, in my view, this is my own view, this shows a little bit how our teaching system is. So the students just go get information, they copy paste it, and they present the essay and they forget about it. What happens when they start asking questions? And I saw this, besides the limitations it has, could make the students ask questions instead of just searching for the answers and copy pastes. So I'm seeing here a tool that I will be able to use, I think, with my students to make them ask them the questions. I also think that this might look like it's a cheating tool now, but if we use it right in the classroom, it can become much more, because if I try to make the students think about what they want the outcome to be, it feels a lot like I'm also teaching them computational thinking, like coding, like programmers.
Many thanks, Ricardo. I love that story. I mean, I think teaching our students how to use these tools effectively is simply preparing them for the future, right? Because I mean, these tools will be out there, and asking and being able to ask the right questions to these tools to get to the right outcome that you desire, I think that's something we can't take for granted. And I've seen it myself when playing with the tool, that I really need to tweak my questions or the prompts I give to the tool and get very different results.
What you are saying, it's also very important, because usually when people see the final result, because people share it online, that is the result of a lot of tinkering. They think that just appeared by miracle with just one prompt, but no, people try again and try to see how it thinks, right? To get to that result, that perfect result we are searching. It's not magical. It does not always get, we do not always get the answer we want right away.
Well, interesting story that you've already been telling us about ChatGPT being used in the classroom, and interesting to see how that further develops. Lidija, can I come to you now, and I'd like to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you agree with Ricardo? Ricardo seems to be quite hopeful, optimistic about the potential of this tool, but isn't there also a danger that it will undermine our work as teachers, and in particular what we usually value in education? How do you see this?
Well, it was very interesting for me to listen to you both, how you are impressed with the ChatGPT. I'm also impressed, but maybe cautious a little bit more. I tested with a different approach because I'm a mathematics teacher and I'm in Croatia, which is a small country. So I tested the Croatian language and it worked very well, actually. Excellent, with some minor errors in grammar. So I had very nice, let's say, meaningful conversation, tinkering the task, as Ricardo mentioned, having some arguments from the ChatGPT and from my side, and some description of the work when he or she was solving some mathematical tasks. So yes, quite powerful tool. But I also see and hear online a lot of noise about, yes, we have to block it, we have to forbid use of it, and similar comments, as you mentioned that as well. I would like to bring our listeners back to the past. Remember when first calculators were introduced in the school, how math teachers typically react? Yeah, we doesn't allow that. People won't learn how to multiply, how to subtract. Or when a different web search tool started, yeah, no, this is wrong. This is useless for education. It will bring a lot of damage. And today's calculators, web search is quite a normal thing, and we no longer think about it as a danger. We think about it as a tool. So blocking is practically useless. I would agree with what Ricardo says. Yes, use it, but learn how to use it smartly, how to make it a tool for learning, but also learn how to critically assess results and the models of the use, for example, of ChatGPT or any similar AI tools. But what also I would like to see some ethical models built in by design, some cyberbullying prevention, some prevention of hate speech, some disinformation filters. So embedded from the beginning by design, because any of these tools could become a strong tool for discrimination, for spreading hate, for enforcing prejudice, for enforcing biases. What we learn with the social networks is this: when it bursts, it's too late to patch all those holes. So let's see if ChatGPT or any other AI use will have that built in from the start. Regarding the OpenAI, it's a private company, so ChatGPT is not open source tool. So let's see if it will remain free, what will be conditions for future years. Well, it's ahead of us, definitely.
Great, Lidija. And I mean, I think you're foreshadowing there a lot of other themes that hopefully we'll pick up later today when we talk about some of the challenges and concerns that need to be associated with the use of these tools. I do want to stay on this topic, though, briefly still, because some of the things you mentioned the calculator and web browser search. And okay, these are seen now as very useful and everyday tools that we also use in education. But nevertheless, the model of education, the way we organize assessment, for example, that hasn't fundamentally changed really, despite all these new tools, despite all these new capabilities that we have at our hands. So I'm wondering, will we see in the coming years this kind of shift away from traditional assessment methods, like writing an essay in an exam, because the rise of these new AI tools, because now finally there is that moment where we've gone over the precipice and there's a push for real fundamental reform in regards to how we organize schooling, how we can organize education? Or is that being too optimistic and maybe even completely unrealistic? What's your view on that? Maybe, Lidija, we can follow with you first and then see what Ricardo says.
Definitely would like to see that change in our education, because when you look at the education system, it doesn't significantly change in the past 100 years. So quite disappointing. Besides all digital technology, besides the pandemic, besides all other shifts, as you said, the way we assess learning is pretty much the same all the time. So moving away from the facts, moving away from the things that you could find by searching, moving away with the things that you have to put in your brain and learn it by heart, could make assessment more meaningful, but also make assessment part of a regular teaching learning process. Not just force exams at the end of the school year, not just force just summative, high-stake exams, as we all tend towards that. So I wouldn't be afraid of AI as a tool, but I would like to have more human contact and new human agents as a part of the assessment in education. So fingers crossed, let's see if this brings definitely that push and change in the assessment process in education. Ricardo?
Yeah, I agree with you completely, Lidija. I think this might be, and I say I'm a little bit pessimistic at this point, because this should be the thing that drives us to change the way we teach and access learning. This will AI is going to continue to advance, and it will be more powerful. And if we don't take part of this revolution, because I think this is it's not just me that thinks this. People say this is a new revolution and that it cannot be stopped, because once a revolution starts, it's quite impossible to stop it. So we have to adapt, like you said. The guidelines, the ethical guidelines must be there, and this is something I've been seeing since the the first contact with AI, I see that there is this preoccupation or this caring for ethical guidelines. And actually, I think even the training behind AI is considering that. And if we look at education, we still see them, like you said, like 100 years ago. They still are in class like they are in a factory, because things were done according to the Industrial Revolution, and it's still going on like that. I hope, like you, Lidija, that this could push us to change, but I do not believe it. I think schools will just stay the same, because mainly the society, and this is my own opinion, sees us as babysitters almost. So we just need to have the children at school to take care of them while parents go and work. But if this continues to change, as we all think it's going to change, and people will have more free time due to AI, I think this will have to change. And it's a very complicated question. I cannot see the future. We see some hints of it here and there. It's hard to say how it's going to be, but I'm hopeful for AI, but I'm pessimistic, at least for our educational system.
Okay, thanks, Ricardo. Lidija, I want to pick up something that you just said, Ricardo, that these tools give us more free time. And personally, I found that quite impressive how in ChatGPT in particular, but there are other AI tools, of course, out there that can do this, can help me in my as a role of a teacher in preparing for lessons or maybe marking a student's work. And I feel that, as a teacher, I spent a lot of time on lesson preparation, on marking students' work, while I actually enjoyed and wanted to spend more time directly with the students. So I really see potential there. Lidija, I want to come back to these guidelines that you worked on for the European Commissions, and I believe as part of your work there, you explored different scenarios for artificial intelligence use in schools. Can you explain a bit about the different ways AI tools are already being used in schools?
Yes, AI tools are used in school, but not as broad as we could expect, or as broad as it mentioned in media, because there are a lot of digital technology in schools which doesn't have AI in the background. But what we usually don't pay attention is what is going on in the background. For example, we are using some quiz tool to grade the answer, and the tool decide who are the winners. But do we know what's the algorithm behind? So what this computer program does in the background, and what data from students they accumulate, and for what purpose? Going back to the guidelines. So in guidelines, we mentioned 4 categories of the AI use: student teaching, student supporting, teacher supporting, and system supporting. Some of them Benny already mentioned, but I'm not sure I will be happy if you go back to the classroom just with the preparation of the lesson that ChatGPT created for you. But I would think you could critically assess that lesson plan and use it for
Absolutely. No, it always still needs more work, that's for sure. But as a cue, as a first start, it's interesting. Anyway, sorry.
Yes, definitely. So this is one of the way that AI could be used. So AI as a teaching assistant and AI as a tool which could recommend to the teacher some pedagogical resources used in specific lesson. Some other maybe examples that you or Ricardo already mentioned, using for the assessment. So automation of the process, giving instant feedback to the students, personalization of learning using some adaptive learning technologies, but also putting the learning process in the heads of the students, so giving them the power to self-regulate their own learning. There I see a big potential, and fingers crossed it will happen in the near future. There is also examples of the use in the administration parts, for example, about the student enrollment, then monitoring students' behavior, watch out for the potential dropout, monitoring their efficacy, but also administration of the teachers and the resources regarding the bigger need in time of the school year. Just as a few examples, but I believe Ricardo will mention some of his own.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Lidija. And but really important to understand, of course, that there are these different levels where AI can be used in a school setting. So yeah, let's indeed hear from Ricardo. I'm curious, Ricardo, what experience do you have with these kind of Lidija mentioned student teaching, student supporting, or teacher supporting AI systems. Have you made use of these type of tools or these type of scenarios?
Actually, I was listening to you and I was thinking I should use this more to my advantage and not just the students. So I'm realizing that I'm always thinking of the students, but if I use them to my advantage, like you were saying, to give quick feedback, because feedback is very important for students to have it right away, and AI can help with this. So I've been using AI to help them create and to motivate them to research about things. Usually, students have to learn about famous scientists. So one teacher said we could try and make famous scientists and how would they look today. So I thought, wait, this is perfect for AI. Now we have tools that will allow students to do this. The project is that the students go and research these scientists, what have they done, and then they have to come out with a prompt, as you know, to use an AR generator, and this gets them to make the research, and then as they are trying to type what they want, they are also developing other skills, because they are learning how to, first they are learning English, but as we are in Portugal, first they go to a translator, so they are learning to they learn to express themselves first to the AI, so they can ask what they need. So they just have to write on the prompt or from what they have learned, what the scientist is famous for, and that also helps. That's something we also noticed while doing this AI project. And when they see the final outcome becomes real, and this shows that is also inclusive, because every student, even without the art capabilities of drawing and digital creating something, they through research and trying to express themselves, they get a result that is spectacular. If you see it visually, for students of that age, I'm doing with, as I said, with 8th graders and 9th graders, it's amazing for them. So we get the motivating factor, so they can develop all the other skills that I mentioned. So I think this kind of project, it's really important of how we can use AI to our students' advantage. I think if we look at it as Lidija and you, Ben, said, as a supporting tool, and Lidija mentioned the calculators, maybe we can start even to require more from our students, because now they have a tool that supports them getting faster to the final result. We can challenge them more. This is what I believe that this can also bring to the table, and I think it's very important for the teaching learning process.
Yeah, Lidija, maybe do you have any response to that? Do you want to react to that?
I definitely agree. Following Ricardo's arguments, students have a more powerful tool, so they could dedicate the time to some other tasks. So yes, put more challenging tasks to them, guide them to the products, to the projects they could produce with the support of the technology.
Can I ask now, Ricardo, I think the application that you describe is quite advanced, and probably for teachers who are, for now, a bit skeptical about the use of AI in their teaching and learning, they might be a bit hesitant about this kind of application. Would you agree with that? And if yes, how would you, what would you tell teachers who are a bit skeptical about?
I've actually dealt with that. So when I first tried to explain that there is this tool that we can use with the support of AI, I usually get blank stares. People are not understanding what I'm saying. But as soon as I show them, because I do it right there, a little example that is nothing compared to what students get when they do the research, people always get amazed at the final result. And people, after seeing how it is, they say, well, this is so easy. But when they try, they see that there is more behind it.
Great. Can I now come back to you, Lidija, because I know that as part of the work on the guidelines, you've also focused on misconceptions, some common misconceptions that exist about the use of AI in schools. I come back to the question I originally asked Ricardo. What would you tell teachers who are a bit skeptical, who might have these type of misconceptions in their mind in regards to AI use in schools?
I agree with Ricardo. We will see more skepticism from our colleagues than from our students, definitely. But as for any other technology, it's completely okay to be skeptical with the AI as well. What I would say that the more important thing is not to be afraid of new developments and changes. And of course, assure teachers that don't worry, AI is not going to replace teachers yet. I would like to point or put a focus on the ethics of AI. So when we talk about the use of AI in education, it's not only about how we use technology, but it's also about why and for what reason we use AI and data to support teaching, learning, or assessment. So we heard several examples, and there is a great potential that AI could be a transformative tool for education. All of us mentioned it several times today. But to see that transformation happens in education, we have to have in mind broader social changes, social needs, but also the future of education and learning. I would say to my fellow teachers, definitely yes, use AI-supported education technology where it makes sense in your teaching and students' learning. So try, see where it fits, see where it helps, but also don't use it when it's annoying or maybe when it's replicating bad pedagogical practices. So pedagogy is something we have to have in mind all the time, not just get puzzled, not just get led just by the technology and the tools which are at our hands, but why we are using it as a part of the teaching and learning.
Lidija, can I pick up on these ethical issues that you've raised there? Because, of course, that's a core part of the guidelines that you've worked on with the European Commission. So can you just briefly outline what actually are the ethical issues that teachers should be aware of when making of use of AI tools more generally? And can you maybe, as part of your answer, give some concrete examples of what can happen if these issues are not sufficiently considered?
Thank you for this question, Ben. Of course, what we already know about AI, that its implementation in education is very complex. Use of AI, impact of AI technologies on learning outcomes and teaching and learning process is not yet proven. So it doesn't have any results in a large scale empirical evidence. So we have to be some caution in that process. What we also know is that participation from different stakeholders, parents, students, teachers, edtech, government, could help to improve that process and make it ethically better. What we also pointed out in the guidelines is amount of data that is used in different AI systems, not just in education, but in any AI system. So we had huge amount of data that is used to train AI system. So there could lie the problem with automation of algorithms, scalability, what kind of personal data is used, how students' personal data is protected, how their privacy is protected. Is student data is used for the training purposes of the AI tools, or is just used as a way of implementation that specific AI tools in specific classroom with specific students. What we already know is that AI use can result in a new forms of inequalities, discrimination, and could exacerbate existing ones. But also, there is a great potential to improve access and inclusion. I don't know, Ben, if you would like me to mention some specific question from the guidelines that we prepared for the teachers so they could lead them in the assessing.
Yes, absolutely. That would have been my next question. How can the guidelines exactly help teachers to navigate these issues? So please go ahead.
Guidelines about ethical use of AI and data in education to have some practical question dedicated areas, categories that could help teachers, but also school leaders, parents, students, government, to lead them in the process of assessing the technology that they could use in the classroom. So we have 7 categories. Let's mention just some of them if I have time. So human agency and oversight. Is the teacher role clearly defined so as to ensure that there is a teacher in the loop while the AI system is being used? How does the AI system affect the didactical role of the teachers? From the area of transparency, are the instructions and information accessible and presented in a way that is clear both for teachers and learners? Do teachers and school leaders understand how specific assessment or personalization algorithm work within the AI system? In the area of diversity, not discrimination, does the system provide appropriate interaction models for learners with disabilities or special education needs? Are there procedures in place to ensure that AI use will not lead to discrimination or unfair behavior for all users? From the area of the well-being, how does the AI system affect the social and emotional well-being of learners and teachers? Does use of the system create any harm or fear for individuals or for society? That I could just briefly jump back to ChatGPT. So when you have such a powerful tool, are students aware that they are talking to the machine and not to the human being? And just a few questions more from the area of data. Is it possible to customize the privacy and data settings? And accountability, how is the effectiveness and the impact of the AI system being evaluated, and how does this evaluation consider key values of education? I know that this sounds very complex, but this is the beginning. This is the first guidelines of that kind, and I'm happy that we have such a practical questions, and that will, I hope, help us in the next few years.
I must say, I found these guidelines excellent, exactly for the reason that you've just mentioned, these very practical questions that teachers need to consider and can consider. It is, of course, sometimes a tall order to expect the teachers to find answers to these questions. And maybe that's not always even needed, but at least to create awareness for the teachers or for the students as part of their work of using some of these tools. Because questions like, does this AI system create harm or fear in society? I mean, that's a big question, of course, that for me as a teacher is quite difficult to answer. But to engage your students about these questions, to reflect and discuss with your students about these questions, I think, that's where the power really lies, and where the purpose, I guess, also of these guidelines lies. Would you agree with that?
Completely agree. You didn't see me nodding to your comments. Yes, very complex, but to discuss it, to raise awareness is the step where we have to be right.
Great, excellent. Many thanks, Lidija. I think really important elements that we're picking up there. I want to dig a bit deeper regarding the practicalities of using tools in the classroom. So I think these questions that are in the guidelines and that Lidija has identified a couple of examples of are a really good starting point for teachers to consider decisions about which tools can I use, how can I use them. But at a very, very practical level, once you've decided on using a certain tool, Ricardo, what advice would you give to your fellow teachers who are starting to make use of a certain tool in their day-to-day activities? And think about it from a pedagogical but also a very practical perspective, based on your own experience, of course.
First of all, get to know the tool that you are using. Don't make assumptions about it. This is what I see a lot going around. Try to as a teacher, see where you can actually gain from using this with your students. But I also use that first project I used with the younger students about the teaching with machine learning. As I was teaching them about teaching the machine, we were trying to build a chatbot. The students would write an insult or something good, and it would react according to that. And while we were training them, what happened? I saw that the list of offenses was really huge compared to the to the list of nice things to say to the machine. We took a break to discuss this, and this is. I'm not even comparing what Lidija said to the ethical guidelines, but as a teacher, I can also take the little things that it gives us and take it in a way that students can discuss it and think about why the offenses list was going to be larger than the one about nice things. The conclusion that the students got to, and we all got to, is that it was funnier. So that's not bad. So I got to see that the students were not ill-intended. They were just having fun, and that is good for me as a teacher. This to say that we can take some responsibility while teaching them, and also be part of that process, even with a little, even if it's of little significance. We can try and be that part of the process of students understanding what they are dealing with, and once they understand, they can be part of the system and try themselves to better the system, to be more ethical, and think about all of this when they are using that. This is what happened when I work with my students, and these little things are good examples of how this can be important to use. So teachers should just see all the scenarios that can develop from using that tool. Of course, sometimes it's not going to work out, but at least we'll give them, the teachers and the students, something to think about, and then they can act on it and be part of the solution and not the problem. This is what I believe.
Great. So effectively developing the metacognition about a tool. So reflecting about how we're making use of this tool, what this tool is doing and the impact of this tool on our own activities. So that as a starting point for starting to use AI tools in the classroom. Interesting point, Ricardo. Many thanks. Now, I just quickly want to, before we close, still talk about the kind of support that teachers need. I mean, well, we've all been teachers or still are teachers, and it's an extremely challenging job. It's time consuming, it's mentally demanding. With all these developments, technology related or other social and economic developments that are out there, the job is definitely not becoming easier. So if we want to make sure that teachers feel ready for this new reality where AI tools are being used in the different ways that we've been talking about today, what kind of support do they most urgently need right now? I mean, the guidelines, they're an excellent starting point, but I think undoubtedly it's not enough. So my question, let's start with you, Ricardo, especially because you've worked as a teacher trainer on this topic. Yeah. What type of support do teachers need right now to address some of these very complex questions around AI?
Usually when we train the teachers, they always complain about what you just said, the lack of time, because they do spend a lot in Portugal. It's ridiculous. The amount of bureaucracy that we have in school it's really ridiculous. If I could show you, if we could show the world, people would be amazed. Time is of the essence. So what we try while we're building our teacher training sessions, in this case with AI, we try to show practical cases. And the first practical cases are about the training of the machine. By doing this, teachers get to know how it works, because they are training and they see when it fails, how it fails, and they try and see how it can give us the answers that we are looking for, and it has human validation. That is, the tools we use in our teacher training course have a human validation part. So they are training, but they are also validating, and there are a lot of tools that people can use. I'll give one, for instance, then you can put also in the show notes. You have Teachable Machine from Google, which is a great example for how this works, and it's very, very simple to use. It's one of my favorite tools to show the teachers. They can even organize some classes around it, and then if they want, if they are computer science teachers like me, they can use the code to later manipulate what they want to take out of it. Having this said, teachers really want something that they can learn fast and implement. So we are starting by there, the part that shows the teacher how it all works, how machines are trained, and how can they use them with their student. We gave some pedagogical examples, and then we have the discussion, and they have final works where they show, and the ideas that come out of it are really great to see. That's my favorite parts of those teacher training courses, is see what other teachers come up with from the seed we gave them. This is the first thing. Try to show practical examples to teachers so they can see how to use it. And the majority of teachers always come up with amazing results and think about something we while we're designing the course didn't even think about they could use it in a pedagogical way. So I think this is it. Try and give them the tools, but also give them little practical examples where they can stem from the idea and then get their own ideas and use them. And then the feedback they give is amazing. I don't know if this is what you wanted, Ben, if there's something more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very clear. I mean, teacher training, practical examples, understanding of how the tools work. I think that gives clear pointers. Lidija, does this resonate with you? I mean, what is it in your mind that teachers can do themselves right now to address this?
When I mention all those questions we have in ethical guidelines, they are not addressed to teachers. So teachers are not the only one who should find the answers. It's also rely on school leaders, on the counties, on the government. So all those who are responsible for the technology that are used in education in specific schools. The learning about the technology, AI technology in this case in the schools, is one of incremental process of continuous testing and learning. But we also should think about these ethical things even before we start using some of those tools. If tools are not properly designed or not properly used, it could lead to harmful consequences. In the ethical guidelines, you will find several examples analyzed with specific questions. It is not only for teachers, those questions. It's for all professionals in education system, but also for parents and for the students to be aware and to ask questions whether artificial intelligence systems which are using are reliable, fair, safe and trustworthy. Training, supporting teachers in understanding the possibilities, the risk of the AI, not only learning about how AI works in some hypothetical system, but also I would say that teachers, it would be good that they follow such initiative as Ricardo mentioned. Be curious, try things, see which are the benefits, which are the risks. And I would definitely tell them, please read ethical guidelines. They are now available in all European Union languages and keep asking questions. I know that European Digital Education Hub will have several activities and trainings connected with AI in education in 2023. So, invitation for all, get involved, join the community, ask questions, and keep learning.
Many thanks, Lidija. I think that's a really nice closing statement there, because we have come to the end of this podcast episode and this really interesting conversation. It's a very complex but highly fascinating topic that I think really deserves a lot more discussion than we've had time for here. But maybe we'll have another opportunity in an upcoming episode to pick it up again and to continue some of these elements that have been brought up. And I think, to follow on what you said, Lidija, indeed, also on the European School Education Platform, next year's annual theme is education and innovation, and the use of AI is going to be a big part of that. In 2023, we will have several different professional development activities, articles, blog posts, potentially another podcast episode where we explore some of these topics again. So keep an eye out for what's coming up on the European School Education Platform. And keep asking questions, engage with your peers. That's where our professional development activities are really powerful at getting people together to talk about a certain topic. So make sure you're making use of these. And continue the discussion that we've only gotten started here in this episode. So A huge thank you to our two guests today. Lidija, Ricardo, it was great fun and a real pleasure having you on this podcast and hearing you talk about a topic that clearly is close to your heart. And yeah, I'm really sure that many of your insights were useful and will be useful for teachers out there who are contemplating about getting started with AI. And well, I'm going to definitely also continue playing around with AI tools, even though I'm not in the classroom directly myself anymore. It's definitely exciting and fun to see how things are developing. Thanks to both of you. All the best. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.